NFL Sunday for week one. How'd you do? How'd your fantasy teams do? How did your bets do? I hope it all went well, but I know for a number of you it probably wasn't your best Sunday if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, or if you bet on them, maybe not the Monday you were hoping for. We're going to try to make your week a little bit better by entertaining you, hopefully giving you a lot of good information and guiding you through not just Monday Night Football, but getting you ready for week 2 of the NFL season, hopefully what will be the greatest week of your sports betting or fantasy football history. Great to have you guys with us here on Butt Fumble Sports. If you're new to the channel, Butt Fumble Sports is a content network created by a sports fan. For you real sports fans at home, we talk sports betting, fantasy sports, we rant about what's going on in the sports world. Obviously, we try to use data analytics, try to be a really smart show about how we approach things, but I don't want to give the impression we get everything right. We get a lot of things wrong. One of those things we'll definitely talk about today. I was as surprised as anybody by how certain games went. One of those games, Will Levis, you pooped your pants on national television in the second half of that game. We'll obviously break down how Caleb Williams became the first number 1 overall pick quarterback to win their debut since David Carr. If for those that don't know, that was the launch of the Houston Texans. That's how long. So the Houston Texans, that's the history we have been going with quarterbacks taken in the first round. We've got a lot to get into over the course of the show. I hope you're excited about it. I hope you're pumped about what we're going to talk about. We're going to answer your fantasy questions. That's where we're going to focus a lot of our time. But I want to make sure that we're also going to get your questions in for Monday Night Football when we hit our 2 live goals. We have 2 live goals, 2 bits of confetti. Once those go up in the air, I will give my pick for the game and for the total. So that's what we're going to wait on for tonight. But other than that, we also have MLB picks to give out. I'll be giving out MLB picks throughout the course of the show as well. Hope you're having a great day. Don't know, Juan. I'm up 21. Opponent has Kittle and Jets defense. How am I looking? I think you're okay as long as Kittle stays out of the end zone. Tyler B, 7776. Caleb didn't win, their defense did. It's a valid point, but it's going to go on his record, of course. J-Mac, thoughts on Drake London? It's what I expected. There were certain players that I expected to not have a good game. Drake London was one of them. I'm not worried at all. Drake London will bounce back. He does have a tricky matchup against the Eagles next Monday night, but he'll bounce back. Thoughts on DK? Similar story. I thought DK Metcalf was going to have a bad game going up against Patrick Surtain II. Not worried about his future value. Landon Nettles. You bring up someone I actually am worried about. I mentioned it prior to the season starting. I mentioned it in yesterday's show. I think Rachaad White is going to regress. I thought he was an unbelievable fantasy all-star in 2023. I did not anticipate that, repeating itself in 2024. And at least in terms of snaps, opportunities, everything from the Washington and Tampa Bay game yesterday, Bucky Irving is the new darling in Tampa Bay. His usage is something to keep an eye on. If you're looking to get a wide receiver off the waiver wire, look to the backup. He may not be the backup running back in Tampa Bay too long. Rachaad White, I think, has some competition there in Tampa. Landon, if I'm looking ahead to the next week, Achane, Stevenson, and Rachaad White, I'd lean for the moment towards Achane. Achane is where I'd go for week 2. Brock Ford, Jays, Jets, moneyline parlay is a lock. I like at least one side of those. I'll let Brandon say, Brock Ford say it's a lock. I certainly won't say that. D-Clan traded A.J. Brown, Montgomery, Dowdle for Jacobs, London, Kincaid, and Chubb. I think it's a good trade. I think after week 1 you'd be doubting it. I think it has some long-term value, so I'm not gonna totally take a piss on it. Jacob Spear, 33. Should I try to get Kupp with Adams and some bench pieces? I mean, yeah, that would be great. Why wouldn't I want that? How do I feel about Etienne? Well, first things first, I thought Etienne, as long as he gets the touchdown, he's going to be worth it. But another running back to keep our eye on, and we talked about him in his rookie season. He didn't quite develop into it. It's Tank Bigsby. Tank Bigsby looked yesterday like how I expected him to look in 2023. So I do think Travis Etienne's going to have a bit of competition there. But overall, I'm not too worried about Travis Etienne. I think he showed you what you needed to in order to feel good about it. Chase Hahn, I like what you're saying, but I'm not going to say it. We got to wait for the confetti. When we get 2 bits of confetti in the air over on TikTok, I'll give away my picks for the night. Sports Central 2. That's unless you have Sharps. If you have the Sharps app, you already know what I'm going with. Sports Central 2. I have McCaffrey and Wilson down 28. Am I good? I don't know. I actually am a little on the fence. I hope you get a touchdown from both. That would seal it. Brent, so sad my Rams lost. What do you think about the teams overall with all the players out and going into OT? Couple of things on the Rams. One, I told you guys preseason, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back too much for what I got right. We'll talk about what I got wrong in a moment. But I told you guys I thought Puka would regress. Puka already is regressed. Already with the injury, with the knee injury, he already won't duplicate what he did last year. I told you guys to be worried about it. That's something to obviously be concerned about if you're a Rams fan or you're a Puka owner. If you're a Rams fan overall, I actually think you should be feeling really good about your team if you're a Rams fan. You didn't play your best. You had a number of injuries. You were on the road week 1 against a superior opponent. And I want to make sure I make that clear. The Lions are a better team than the Rams. So the fact that the Rams came back, pushed it to overtime, it was such a good game, I actually think is a sign that the Rams are going in the right direction. But if you tell me the Rams are one of the final 3 teams in the NFC, I don't, final 3-4 teams, I just don't think they're there. I think they are the 6th best team in the NFC. I don't think they're in the top 4. Top 4 for me are the Lions, 49ers, Eagles, and right now, it is a question between if Jordan Love comes back healthy versus if the Cowboys did, what they did yesterday for the rest of the season, they're going to be that 4th team. But I don't think the Rams are quite there. I think there are a few more pieces behind. Diego, need 8 points from Garrett Wilson. Am I cooked? I actually think you're going to be okay. If you're in a PPR league, I feel great about it. But I think you might be okay. Ryan, thoughts on Kincaid and London? Okay, here's my thought. I'm not worried about London. I expected London to not have a great game. I'm worried about Dalton Kincaid. Where the hell was he yesterday? The Arizona Cardinals last year were one of the worst defenses in all of football against the tight end position. Dawson Knox had a big play. Where was Dalton Kincaid? Now, week 1, I think one of the big themes, at least in fantasy from week 1, was where were the tight ends? We had talked for months about the marquee tight end position. All of a sudden, the tight end position, it's going to be loaded with elite receivers. Not just like tight end, traditional tight end, elite receivers, guys who could put up wide receiver 2, maybe even wide receiver 1 kind of numbers. And the only tight end who delivered a day like that was Isaiah Likely on opening night. Other than that, Jake Ferguson got hurt, and Njoku got hurt. Dalton Kincaid disappointed. Kyle Pitts, had the touchdown that got at least, but other than, it was just an ugly day for the tight end position overall. I'm gonna throw out week 1. I'm gonna say that maybe tight ends were not just talked about by fans or fantasy owners. Maybe a lot of defensive coaches were saying, hey, the tight end position is a real threat now. We need to take it away. Because I saw a lot of that. I saw almost the willingness, I'll give up the slant route, I'll give up the short route to the wide receiver over the seam route to the tight end. Maybe that changes over the next few weeks, maybe it doesn't, but I'm not going to overly concern myself. I am a little bit worried about Kincaid and the Bills' offense, but the tight end position had a bad week overall, and I certainly include that in my thinking. Just thoughts on CMC. I think he's going to play tonight. If there's one player prop bet that seems to be incredibly consistent, it's Christian McCaffrey to get a touchdown. It's a tough opponent. I still think he finds the end zone. Kike Isguap, thoughts on Brian Thomas Jr. There were certain receivers yesterday that we all needed to see do something in order to trust them moving forward. There were certain guys where it's like my eyes need to see it before I can believe it and put them in my lineup. Those players include Brian Thomas Jr. Kid is for real. Kid's for real. He's the wide receiver too. Gabe Davis, he's going to have his weeks, but just like in Buffalo, Gabe Davis is either going to be like a 3-touchdown wide receiver or he's going to be MIA, Casper the Friendly Ghost. You can't find him on the stat sheet. Brian Thomas Jr. is for real. That kid can play. He's a good route runner. He's got speed. There's already a good connection between him and Trevor Lawrence. I like Brian Thomas Jr. Another wide receiver who is in that category of I need to see it to believe it, Ladd McConkey. He got a touchdown. He wasn't spectacular. He was good enough. He was targeted enough. Ladd McConkey, he's got some long-term value there. George Pickens. I know some other people feel stronger about George Pickens than I do. Part of me is like, man, I'm kind of on the fence. Part of me thinks he's a little overrated. He can play. If he gets even decent quarterback play, George Pickens is a low-end wide receiver one. That's his ceiling. I'm higher on him today than I was a couple days ago. We saw Xavier Worthy is real. Jameson Williams, please stand the hell up. Jameson Williams is for real. You saw the speed. You saw the route running ability that he had at Alabama. The big question about Jameson Williams, 1, can he stay healthy and on the field? 2, can he avoid gambling issues? But 3, he was so dynamic in college. Could he ever be that in the pros? The Lions took a gamble on him. It was a draft and stash move on their part. It took it's now in its third year of seeing if it's going to pay dividends. It did last night. I am super high on him. The running back position, Tank Bigsby, Bucky Irving, I mentioned them. Those are guys to keep your eye on. One narrative that died, one narrative that I'm happy we accurately predicted. Blake Corum is not something to worry about. If you're a Kyren Williams fan, I've been telling you for the last month, at least the last 2 weeks, I'm not worried about Blake Corum. Kyren Williams is the man. That said, something I did get wrong, I thought Jahmyr Gibbs would really start to own that RB1 spot in Detroit. It's just not the case. David Montgomery is the running back who just will not go away. If you got David Montgomery in fantasy, you might have gotten an RB1 while the rest of us kept thinking he was an RB2. So bravo to you. That's something I got wrong. I thought he performed better. Something I very much got wrong yesterday. Where was Marvin Harrison Jr.? Where was he? I thought he was going to have a good game. Not the case. Kyler Murray might have a problem. And I'm not going to overreact too much to week 1, but I am aware of it. Kyler Murray might have a slight problem in that he's very much like so many other mobile quarterbacks. I look for my first route, and then if it's not there, I'm scrambling. Well, you got to let Marvin Harrison Jr. run his route. He's not going to be a short route guy. He's a medium to deeper route receiver. You can run him short. You just lose out on a lot of his value and on his talent. So if Kyler Murray isn't willing to sit back in the pocket and wait for Marvin Harrison Jr. to get open, they're not going to utilize his true talent and ability, and that is concerning to me. That is something I'm aware of, and I'm not just going to throw away just because it was a loss to the Bills. I thought the Cardinals would cover. They did, but I honestly thought they would end up having a chance to win that game, and in the end, they weren't what I thought they were. They had a better first half than second. Kyler Murray is incredibly talented, but he needs to get the most out of Marvin Harrison Jr. if that team's going to be anything. Bo Nix is exactly who I thought he was. Bo Nix is exactly what I thought he was. So anyone who's trying to sell me on Bo Nix, sorry, I got some beans for a magic beanstalk to sell you because it's just not there. And if you were worried about Bo Nix yesterday against a Seattle defense that might still be figuring out some pieces with a new coach, the Steelers are going into Denver and they are going to rob Denver. They're going to rob Mile High. Bo Nix, they're coming for you, son. They're coming for you. The Steelers are coming for you, so you better watch out. You better hide all your valuables because they'll find them, they'll take them, they'll bring them back to Pittsburgh. So Bo Nix is exactly what we thought. Getting back, I like this kind of recap of some of our takes and some of the things we got right and wrong. Something I got wrong, I thought the Browns were going to be real. And I'm not saying the Browns aren't real, but once again, Deshaun Watson is a fraud. Deshaun Watson is a fraud. He might have been a great quarterback once upon a time. It might have been the case. But whatever magic powers that kid once had, he doesn't have them anymore. He is like Patrick Ewing and Charles Barkley and all the NBA stars from Space Jam who lost their powers. Like, I want to make this joke, and obviously I'm doing it tongue-in-cheek, but maybe this dude really does need massages. Like, maybe this dude is a genie, and he needs someone to rub the magic lamp in order for this guy to have his powers. Because since he got to Cleveland, I haven't seen it. This guy literally might require the I Dream of Genie treatment in order for him to be able to be competitive. Because this guy is not nearly good enough, given the contract, given that he's one of 32 starters in the NFL. The Browns are not what I thought. They're not what I thought on the offensive line, which is probably most concerning to me. How did Micah Parsons dominate that game the way that he did? I thought Myles Garrett was going to dominate the way that Micah Parsons did. Wasn't the case. Couple other reactions. Dallas Cowboys won their Sunday. There was no team that had a better NFL Sunday than the Dallas Cowboys. Here's why. 1, you signed Dak. It's done. It's settled. 2, you beat the Browns on the road as an underdog. So not only are you 1-0, you shut up some doubters, you shut up the public about, oh, we didn't do anything in the offseason, and you just locked in your quarterback. A lot of momentum in Dallas. I think they're going to be overhyped. At the same time, I love them to win. The best trends I've ever seen in football backs the Cowboys this coming Sunday. Cowboys face the Saints. Should be a really good matchup on paper. According to the trends, Cowboys. That said, they're going up against the Saints team, which Saints look great. They look great because they went up against a JV high school football team. Carolina Panthers are a disaster. Bryce Young is a bust. It's no knock on him as a person. He's going to make a lot of money signing Heisman memorabilia and being in Nissan Heisman house commercials or whatever, but the dude can't play football. He's not good enough. We try to compare him to Kyler Murray. He's not that good. We try to compare him to Drew Brees. Nope. This guy is his own version of Johnny Manziel. He's a bust. He's a bust, and Carolina's a mess. Carolina has nothing going for it. They're going to be the number 1 overall pick. And the reason they're going to be the number 1 overall pick is because the New England Patriots pull off the upset of the day. Who saw that coming? I thought they would cover. I did think the Patriots would cover. I took them at plus 9.5. I thought that spread was too big. I also thought the Bengals were going to win. So I'm on both sides of that one. Thought Pats would cover because that was a classic, like the public doesn't know shit. But I thought the Bengals would win. And they could have if they score that touchdown. What's so amazing is that was a 6-point difference, and the game was about Gesicki catches the touchdown. Oh, wait, not a touchdown. Next play, it looks like the receiver of I think it's 87 wide receiver of the Bengals. He's about to go in. Kyle Duggar punches the ball out. Marcus Jones recovers. 7 points off the board, never claimed. That's the difference. That's how close it is for the Bengals right now. Between beating the Patriots and not, it's that close. And on one level you go, oh, Patriots, good job. I actually go, no, the Patriots are still going to be a bottom 5, bottom 6 team in the NFL. Don't worry. To me, it was more a statement of, man, the Bengals are a mess. The Bengals are a mess. Bengals couldn't stop a nosebleed defensively. Ramondre Stevenson looked amazing. Something I got wrong. Something fantasy owners out there, I am sorry. I told you guys to sit, most of you at least, I told you to sit Ramondre Stevenson. I thought there was no way that the Patriots offensive line could perform well given what we saw in the preseason. Ramondre Stevenson with one of the best fantasy football performances yesterday, regardless of position. Bravo to Gerard Mayo. He shut up a lot of critics. Bravo to Alex Van Pelt, the offensive coordinator for the New England Patriots. And bravo to Jacoby Brissett. Was it a good game by Jacoby? Good enough. Good enough. I think sometimes we confuse stats with success. Anthony Richardson put up stats. He didn't actually have success. He lost the game. He made some ridiculous throws. That's the difference. Jacoby Brissett, he's never going to give you stats. If he does, man, you're expecting a lot, or he's going to give you success. That's what he got from the Patriots. But the Bengals are a mess. And the Bengals and the Patriots, that not only was the surprise game of the day, it featured the 2 surprise divisions of the weekend. If I told you 5 days ago that the AFC is 3-0 going into Monday Night Football, I would be shocked. I would be shocked. I would think one of those teams would have lost. And if I had told you that only the Pittsburgh Steelers would be undefeated in the AFC North, the division we all thought was going to be arguably the toughest. Maybe the NFC West. There are some arguments for different. I thought everyone out there, for the most part, thought the AFC North. Nope. 3 losses, and it's the Steelers who don't score a touchdown. They're the one who gets a win. If you don't love football, if you didn't get your junkies worth of NFL football yesterday, I feel bad for you, because yesterday was awesome. Was it perfect? No. A lot of things went wrong. If you're a sports bettor, there are things that blew up your parlays. If you're a fantasy owner, Amon-Ra St. Brown, we're still looking for you. Amon-Ra St. Brown, where'd you go, buddy? There were things that went wrong yesterday, but if you didn't enjoy finding out what was going to happen, I feel bad for you. What I love about the NFL is we all think we know what's going to happen, and the ball just bounces in weird ways. In baseball, stats usually play out. In basketball, there's a reason stars win championships. In football, man, that pigskin is one funky fucking bitch, and it is awesome to watch. It was great to watch it with you. I hope you enjoyed it. That was a bit of the recap on my reaction to things. We'll get to your fantasy football reactions and your questions. We are going to give out picks. I am waiting for our live goal. When we hit confetti, we have 2 confetti we're waiting for. I'll give out my game pick for tonight, and I will give out my total play for tonight. I'm going to give those out when we hit our live goal confetti. If you don't want to wait for that, just DM me on Instagram. I give away all of my picks for free every day. So DM me on Instagram if you want to get all of my picks. We give those away every single day. Nuv DK, which defense is better long-term, Chiefs or Steelers? That's a great question. Right now, at least on paper, I certainly would that equation for me a little bit. It's about their opponents. So the Kansas City Chiefs, they play the Bengals, Falcons, Chargers, Saints, and then they have a bye week. That's over the next few weeks of the season. The Steelers have the Broncos, Chargers, Colts, Cowboys, Raiders, Jets, and Giants. So you can see certain weeks there are really good matchups, certain weeks there aren't. It's kind of a week-to-week thing. Oh, should I look to trade away Diggs or Mixon? I don't think so. I think they performed really well. Something I expected from the Houston Texans, and it's exactly what we got. I expected Nico Collins to be the big play guy. I expected Tank Dell to be the third option, and I expected Stephon Diggs to be the red zone touchdown guy. Kind of played out that way. Would make a lot of sense if it continues that way. Ryan, down 3.5 in PPR. I have Debo and Greg Z. Opponent has Niners defense. You know that, Ryan. Like, there's nothing I'm going to tell you about that. You know you have an advantage, and if you lose, all right, then those guys had a shit game. But Ryan, to be fair, like, there's a reason I was avoiding the question. It's because it's not a real question. You just want me to validate, like, the fact that you're okay, and the answer is you should be, but we're going to find out. Eric Anderson, trade Ridley for Godwin. That's a really good question, and there is reason for me to kind of believe in that a little bit. Looking at the Tennessee Titans matchup, they play the Jets next week. Bad matchup. Sauce Gardner. Following that, Green Bay Packers. He'll be going up against potentially Jair Alexander. After that, they play the Dolphins. Jalen Ramsey. So, because Ridley is the number 1 wide receiver on the Tennessee Titans, at least as of right now, he could potentially face Sauce Gardner, Jair Alexander, and Jalen Ramsey against him in the next 3 weeks. I'd rather have Godwin. Pedro, thoughts on Bijan? I think they faced a really tough defense, and so I'm not going to overreact to what the Falcons were. The Falcons are one of the few teams that I'm actually going to give a pass to. One, a lot of new pieces. New quarterback, new coordinator, new coaching staff. I'm going to give it a little bit of time. However, they need to figure it out fast, but Steelers are a good defense. Week 1 jitters. I'll give them some time before I really throw them under the bus. Connor over ETN moving forward. I think that's a bit of an overreaction. Arizona plays Philadelphia. Arizona plays the Rams next week. then Detroit and Washington. There's some good value in those weeks, but I'm not going to overreact to James Conner yesterday. I do think James Conner is a very consistent play for an RB2 or a flex. Christian, trade Kamara for MHJ. Running backs are Jacobs and JT. I certainly think you're getting Marvin Harrison Jr. at a low point in his value, which is a good move by you. I am a little cautious, though, because I think Jacobs' value may be compromised by the fact no Jordan Love for the next month. Appreciate you guys watching the show. Make sure you hit the follow button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're with us. Hit the like button. And, of course, if you want my picks for tonight, I'm going to give those out once we hit some confetti on TikTok. Did you like my Steelers pick, Daily Sports? It's a good call. John, do you think Stevenson moves to an RB2? I'm not going to overreact. I'm not. They're playing, the Patriots are playing the Seahawks next week. That's a good defense. I'm not going to overreact there. Then they play the Jets. Then they play the 49ers. So 3 tough run defenses in a row. Not going to overreact. Alina, for next week, Purdy or Burrow? Well, Burrow is facing the Kansas City Chiefs. Meanwhile, Purdy is facing the Minnesota Vikings. I'll take Purdy as of right now. Obviously, we need to know how Purdy's performs today. Caden, what are your player prop bets for tonight? I will give a player prop bet I like for tonight. I'll take Garrett Wilson 50+ receiving yards. Garrett Wilson 50+ receiving yards. I'm going to throw that into some of my parlays, but I do think Garrett Wilson gets to 50. I think Breece Hall gets to 25 receiving yards as well. So Garrett Wilson 50+ receiving yards. Breece Hall 25+ receiving yards. And I also would take George Kittle 25+ receiving yards as well. Those are 3 player prop bets I do like. I'll give out a game pick and a total play when we throw some confetti in the air on TikTok. Joe Shiesty, Brian Robinson or Deontay Johnson at my flex going forward? I think so. I told you guys at the start of the year, I don't want any part of the Carolina Panthers. This is something I've been very consistent on. Dylan be chillin'. He gave us one confetti, so we'll give out a pick in one moment. But I told you guys for weeks, I don't trust the Carolina Panthers at all. I want nothing to do with them. I stand by that. I thought yesterday validated that. Okay, here is my first pick for tonight. Here's my game pick. I am taking the New York Jets to cover. I'm taking New York Jets plus 4.5. Make sure you have the hook in your favor. Right now the line is at 4. I want the half in my favor. So New York Jets plus 4.5. Aaron Rodgers on Monday night. 10 straight wins on Monday night. 10 straight wins. Historically, when a team loses a Super Bowl, their week 1 of the next season, they have a terrible against the spread record. A lot of the trends are all pointing towards the New York Jets, not just to cover, but to win. I'm not going to be that bold, at least with you guys right now, but New York Jets plus 4.5. New York Jets plus 4.5. That's my first pick for tonight. Shady Esco gave us confetti, so here's my other pick for the night. I am taking under 45.5. Under 45.5. So my 2 picks for this evening. You can put them in a same game parlay. Is Jets plus 4.5 and under 45.5 points. Okay, everyone? Jets plus 4.5 and under 45.5 points. Those are both alternative lines. I bet alternative lines. I think the sports books are always being a little tricky, so I always like to move it a little bit. Too fine Klein. Brock Purdy over. I wouldn't take Brock Purdy passing stats. I know it's been a very good trend. I'm not taking it because I respect the Jets defense so much that I'd be cautious. Hot Rod, which teams were you most impressed with? You got to give the Dallas Cowboys the win of Sunday. They signed their franchise quarterback. They look impressive on national TV. By the way, everyone was watching that game, not just because it's the Cowboys, but because of Tom Brady. Everyone was dialed in. They were underdogs on the road. Everyone was saying they had a bad offseason, and the Cowboys, they dominated on every level. All 3 phases. And I actually don't think there was a team that dominated all 3 phases in that way. Like, you could argue the Saints, but defense, special teams, Special teams. If the Cowboys have one advantage anywhere on the field that is superior to every other team in the NFC, it's special teams. Brandon Aubrey, I'll say it now. Now that Justin Tucker is no longer a great kicker beyond 50, and because Harrison Butker is probably going to be at a Trump event for half the games, I'm just making a joke. Brandon Aubrey is the number one kicker in the NFL. The dude hits from 65 and acts like it's no big deal. Like, he is the best kicker in the NFL, and Turbin is the best return man. The Cowboys had a great Sunday. They lock up their quarterback, but their special teams is going to win them games. It's going to be a big difference. That was a team that really impressed me. Obviously, really stood out to me. Another team that impressed me that probably I'm not going to talk about enough just because they're not going to come to mind too often. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know they were playing the Commanders. I know they were playing a rookie quarterback. But I think coming after the postseason performance last year, after making that run, I think a lot of people thought like, oh, that's great. Baker Mayfield did it. But they immediately anointed the Falcons as the team that was going to win the NFC South. Or a few people probably thought, okay, the Saints will bounce back. But I think too many people, at least as of one game, too many people were overlooking the Baker Mayfield-led Buccaneers. That team looks good. And by the way, Todd Bowles, is there any head coach in the NFL right now who gets overlooked more, who's probably doing a better job but gets overlooked more? The dude does a phenomenal job on the defensive side of the ball. He lets his offensive coaches coach. He doesn't get in the way of that. His team has had success. I thought the Buccaneers had a really good game. And again, I thought they would win against the Commanders. It's the way in which they won. It's how Baker looked. Really high on them. A lot of people are going to try and tell me the Minnesota Vikings were a team to be impressed by. The Minnesota Vikings just played the New York Giants. I thought the winner of Sunday was the... Howdy to you, Caden. I thought the winner of Sunday was the Dallas Cowboys. There is no team that lost week one more than the New York Football Giants. The Carolina Panthers lost week one weeks ago. We already knew they were going to lose. We already knew they were going to be bad. We already know that their draft picks are owned by the Bears. Like, we already know this. They had already lost. So, the Carolina Panthers, no, the team that lost the most week one of this season, the Giants lost on Friday night when Saquon Barkley ran for 3 touchdowns. They lost on Sunday by getting embarrassed at home in those awful uniforms in front of their home fans on opening day. They lost the post game when Daniel Jones leaves the stadium to heckling and boos by fans outside, and they lost the offseason because they were on television and we got to witness everything that just played out. We got to witness how that disaster got put into place. We got to see all the little dominoes get lined up, and yesterday we got to see them all knocked down. There is no team that should feel worse about where they are right now than the New York Giants. The Panthers, you could say that, okay, fine, Panthers, but we already knew that. The Giants had a sliver of hope. There were some people who thought the Giants could win yesterday. Daniel Jones is a disaster. I don't know who's a worse contract right now, Daniel Jones or Deshaun Watson. That's actually a legit question. Deshaun Watson probably is because it's the worst contract in NFL history. But Daniel Jones is so bad right now. Those two contracts are the Holyfield and Tyson of bad deals. And those two teams are wearing those deals like anchors around their neck. It is going to destroy them. I am so worried if I'm a Giants fan because there's no light at the end of the tunnel. The team will tear apart. You could already hear Malik Neighbors and Dexter Lawrence and other members of that team. They don't want Daniel Jones anymore. So that team is going to literally have to have a come to Jesus moment within the first 3-4 weeks of the season. That team's done. That team is done. Disaster. And I feel bad for Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll, I think, is a legit head coach, but we're never going to know. We're never going to know. Not with how things are going in New York. So, Hot Rod, I know that was a long answer to your question, but those are a few of the teams that I'm very high on from this week, and a couple of the teams where I'm like, wow, you lost your season in week 1. And it's hard to do that. It actually is. People think it's easier to lose your season in week 1. It's pretty hard. New York Giants, bravo. You lost your season in week 1. Appreciate the question, Hot Rod. Giants can cut Jones after the season. No cap. Vince, we are looking into the future. If I'm Karnak, the famous Johnny Carson character, if I look into the future and I hold up the envelope right now, Daniel Jones, Joe Flacco, Carson Wentz, and Tom Brady, players who officially retire because no one will actually want them anymore in 2025. That's what it would be. Matt Walsh, hold or trade St. Brown. St. Brown's going to be fine. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a bad game. He will be okay. But Jameson Williams is real. Jameson Williams is real. I mentioned this a couple of minutes ago. One of the players that stood out, Jameson Williams was a star at Alabama. He was amazing. People were talking about him like he was going to be the next great NFL wide receiver, and then he got hurt. It was a sad injury at Alabama, really unfortunate, and the Lions have just been really patient. It was a draft and stash. They've been patient. He got suspended for gambling last year. It was kind of hot and cold. He's back. He's healthy. You not only see the speed, you see when he gets going, his route running is smooth and fast, and you just can't catch him. His issue is, can he stay healthy? Can he stay on the field? But I'm not worried about him and Amon-Ra St. Brown. In fact, I think last night, it's bad for Amon-Ra St. Brown owners this week. It'll be good for them over the course of the season, because if Amon-Ra St. Brown had a good game, defenses are just going to flock to him. They need to take defensive pressure away from him, get the attention away from him. Jameson Williams will do that. It's going to open up opportunities for Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I actually think it's a good thing in the long term. Dakota, would you expect in return to trade away my CJ Stroud? I'm not going to answer questions like that because it's open-ended and it's hard to predict that. What I'd say is, if you're trading CJ Stroud for another position, I don't think you're going to get a tremendous amount of value in return, because quarterbacks that don't run usually don't get a ton of value. You would have to make it a 2-for-1 player swap. Why Tall 55? What's your opinion on Ayuk today? I could see it going one of two ways. I could see Ayuk getting like 50 yards and a touchdown, and that kind of being his ceiling. Or I could see him having a very quiet day. Sauce Gardner, good defense he's going against. How will he be utilized? He'll be on a snap count. I think kind of 50, 55 yards and a touchdown is the ceiling, but I think he's probably closer to the floor. Is likely a starter going forward. I don't think he's a starter going forward. I think he had a really good week 1. I'm not going to overreact to it. I think he had a really good week 1. I think Mark Andrews will bounce back. That's what I'm thinking right now. Brent, LaFleur saying that Malik Willis will take over if Love can't play. Thoughts on the receivers now? So, Love isn't going to play for the next few weeks. Like, he's not playing this week. He's not playing for the next few weeks. So this is going to be the Malik Willis show in Green Bay. If I own Jaden Reed, I'd be like, okay, they'll figure out a way to get that guy the ball in space. Christian Watson, his value goes down. Romeo Doubs, his value goes down. Josh Jacobs, I'm not quite sure. I would assume his value goes down because defenses will load the box more to try to take away the run, given it's Malik Willis. But they may use him in more creative ways because they need him that much more to be a contributor in the offense. So I'm kind of on the fence about Jacobs, but overall, I would think production goes down by a significant margin. D. Turner, 96, down 14.5 PPR against Wilson. Okay. Guys, I know that you guys love asking questions like, do you think I'll win tonight? I know just as much as you will, and it doesn't really solve anything. It's not really asking a question. It's a validation thing. If you guys need validation or affirmation, you guys are wonderful. You're amazing. Your teams are great, but I'm not that kind of guy, and this isn't that kind of place. So you have a real question, I'm here to help. But if you're looking for affirmation, Jojo, thoughts on Calvin Ridley. Will Levis look like an idiot? That's my thoughts on Calvin Ridley. Will Levis looks like he's got mayonnaise between the ears. I knew Will Levis was an idiot. I know he's a meathead. He's a steak. He is an idiot. But he's athletically talented. He's got a lot of physical abilities as a quarterback. But Calvin Ridley's problem is that it's not just having a quarterback with a big arm. You have to have a quarterback who's smart enough to know how to be a quarterback in the NFL. And that's what's going to hold Calvin Ridley back. I think if he had stayed with Trevor Lawrence, maybe he would have hit a ceiling in terms of athletic ability, but the intelligence would have been there from a quarterback standpoint. Will Levis made arguably the dumbest play I have ever seen a quarterback make. It was as dumb. You are throwing the football underhand, backwards, but forwards. Not just trying to throw it out of bounds, but you are actively throwing it as if you're trying to complete the pass. It was so stupid, and I do think Calvin Ridley should be concerned because he's like, I am dependent on that guy feeding me. I am dependent on that guy who has hooks for hands to spoon feed me my meal every day, every Sunday. I'd be concerned a little bit. There's also, I mentioned this earlier, the Tennessee Titans. The next 3 games they have their bye week in week 5, so an early bye. But Calvin Ridley, the next 3 weeks, if he's wide receiver 1 of the Titans, he could potentially face on the other side of the ball Sauce Gardner in week 2 against the Jets, Jair Alexander in week 3 against the Green Bay Packers, and Jalen Ramsey in week 4 when they play the Dolphins. So 3 of arguably the top, 5, 6 cornerbacks in the league he'll be facing in the next 3 weeks. I really don't like Calvin Ridley. I would fade Calvin Ridley. I'm really, really low on him. Hi, I'm Toby. I have Ferguson, and with him going down, do you think I should pick up Freiermuth or Parkinson? I'd probably, if I can't get Likely, yeah. By the way, it sounds like Ferguson actually has an outside chance of playing this upcoming week, believe it or not. It's an MCL sprain and a bone bruise, but apparently there's a chance he could play. That said, I think Freiermuth is probably the safer play, but let's see, over the course of the next few days, let's see what tight ends are available on the waiver wire. Thoughts on Puka? Bad news. Bad news. He's whatever's going on with Puka's knee, it's going to be a season-long issue. I told you guys I wasn't high on him to start the year. I thought he was going to regress. I feel like that came to fruition way too soon. I'd be concerned. After Henry's week 1, should I trade him away for someone like Mixon? I actually like Mixon more than I like Henry in some ways, but no, I would not overreact to week 1. When you make trades in week 1, you run the risk of selling low and buying high. Trey Wimp, is Geno's floor better than Caleb's? His floor? Geno Smith's floor is higher than Caleb Williams because he knows how to play the position to avoid mistakes that Caleb Williams will make. How did Anthony Richardson look to you? I think Anthony Richardson's throw, the touchdown throw to Alec Pierce, the 65-plus yard in the air pass, is the best football pass I have ever seen in my life. He was, if you look at the all-22 from the end zone, he's kind of stumbling back. He's on his heel. That was just all physical ability. And he put it in the perfect spot. He had a defender in his face. From a physical, difficulty standpoint, it probably is the most challenging throw I have ever seen a quarterback make. In terms of difficulty from opponent, difficulty in terms of body placement, and he threw the ball 65 yards in the air. It was the most ridiculous throw I've ever seen. If you did that throw in Madden, you'd be like, oh, this game's fucking stupid. This game's stupid. There's no way. He is so ridiculous. Anthony Richardson is for real. I said it to you guys prior to the season starting. I've said it over the last few weeks. Some people were worried about his preseason and whether he was going to be successful with the Colts. I'll go back to what I said earlier. Success versus stats. Is he going to be successful with the Colts? Maybe. They might make the playoffs. They might be an above 500 team. Maybe. Who knows? From a stat standpoint, dude's a superstar. Dude is going to be a fantasy superstar this year. As long as he stays healthy, he is going to be like Cam Newton. He is like Cam Newton. He can throw the ball for 350 yards a game. He can run for 3 touchdowns a game. He is a physical freak. The offense is built entirely around him, except when it's Jonathan Taylor, and even there, that play action is going to help him out. I am so high on Anthony Richardson. He's a stud. He's a stud. Brent Puka is now on the is on the IR for PCL, or is eligible for the IR with PCL sprain. Yeah, very sad. I'm not surprised. Fortunately, the IR does mean you can return later in the year, unlike some others. By the way, let me recap. We've already given out our picks for tonight's NFL game. We give out our picks for free, by the way, every single day. DM me on Instagram if you want my bets for free. I never charge for my picks. I do my research every day, looking at trends and stats and matchups. If you guys want my picks for free, just DM me on Instagram, Butt Fumble Sports. I give them away for free. My picks for tonight, I've got the Jets plus 4.5, Jets plus 4.5, and I'm taking the under 45.5 points. Both of those are alternative lines. I like to move the line a little bit to get in my favor, but I will take Jets plus 4.5, and I'll take under 45.5 total points. I do think Breece Hall gets a touchdown. I do think Christian McCaffrey gets a touchdown. I think Garrett Wilson gets 50 plus receiving yards. I think George Kittle gets 25 plus receiving yards. Outside of that, those are kind of the bets that I like so far. I do actually have some MLB picks for you guys as well. If you guys want the MLB picks, let me know. More than happy to give those out. I really like the Pirates on the money line. Paul Skeens on the mound. That's one that I really like. Phillies on the money line is another one. I'll give out more MLB picks if you guys want those. But my NFL picks for tonight, Jets plus 4.5 and under 65.5 total. Under 45.5 total points. I also wanted to bring up a trend that is just freaking incredible. I wanted to show you guys. It has to do with week 2. But I wanted to show you guys the trend anyways, because it's one of the more ridiculous trends that I had seen. There are a bunch of trends that back the Cowboys this week, so I wanted to show those to you guys. Let me pull it up on my screen. If you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, or Kick, you'll be able to see this right now. For those watching elsewhere, you'll hear it. Dak Prescott has played a total of 11 games at home as at least a 6-point favorite when the total is less than 46 points. Dak Prescott has played 11 games as a home favorite of 6 points or more when the total is 46 or less. He's 11-0 straight up. He's 9-2 against the spread, and he's 9-2 for the over. I love the Cowboys on the money line this upcoming week. I also like them to cover. There is another trend that I looked at earlier today. This is since last year, since the start of last year, when a team is coming off a 20-point win, like the New Orleans Saints are, and then they're a road dog, and the total is above 43 points. I know there are a number of variables there, but when a team is coming off a 20-point win, they're a road dog, and the total is above 43 points, not only is that team 0-10 straight up, they're 0-10 against the spread. The New Orleans Saints fit this scenario. The Saints are a 6.5-point underdog next week. I'd buy that now. If I were you, you can do what you want. I would buy the Cowboys to cover 6.5 now. I think this line's going to move. I think it's going to move away in favor of the Cowboys. I think it's going to grow to 7.5, 8.5. Get it while you can now. I like Cowboys minus 6.5 based on the trend I showed you for Dak Prescott and based on the trend of the last 2 years. Year plus, obviously. So a couple of trends for you guys, for those that like some sports betting information as well. If you guys want my bets every single day for free, DM me on Instagram, Butt Fumble Sports. DM me on Instagram. I give away all of my picks for free, and all of my picks are based on trends, data, and analytics. Story time. What the hell happened with the Commanders' defense? Exactly what we thought. They traded away a lot of defensive pieces last year. Remember they traded Chase Young and Sweat? They traded a lot of talent, and they didn't replace it. So the Commanders, it's going to take time for them to rebuild. Should I trade Kenneth Walker for Mike Evans? Hell no. Don't give up Kenneth Walker now. Thoughts on Amari Cooper and Drake London? Drake London will bounce back. I'm worried about Amari Cooper because I'm worried about Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun Watson sucks, Amari Cooper, he had a chance to have a big touchdown catch yesterday, so he needs to come through, but he's too reliant on Deshaun Watson given how bad Deshaun is. Can I get the MLB, please? Do you have any picks for the NFL? Gave out the NFL picks. It's Jets plus 4.5 and under 45.5 points. A couple of MLB picks that I like. Pirates on the money line. Phillies on the money line. I like the Yankees on the money line as well. I'll also take the Guardians on the money line. Dodgers on the money line. A lot of favorites tonight. A lot of favorites. Gavin, should I trade away Burrow? I'm not high on him, that's for sure. Is Kupp a top 5 option right now? He could be, and I actually think Puka's injury positively impacts him. He's just going to get more targets. Buy Andrews low, JAD, yes I would. Who do you think will improve after week 1? As a player or as a team? As a player, I think Drake London is going to bounce back. I'm not worried about Drake London. I'm not worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to bounce back. Terry McLaurin I'm a little worried about. He should have had a better game yesterday. Terry McLaurin should have had a better game. Who am I worried about? I'm a little bit worried about Dalton Kincaid, but overall I'm not too worried about the tight ends. I think they'll bounce back. Should I worry about Olave? No, but I'll put Olave in the same category as Amon-Ra St. Brown. If I told you their team won and I told you the number of points they scored, you'd go, oh, they probably got something right. And the fact that they didn't, I'll treat as an outlier. I won't treat as a trend. So I'm not too worried. Couple of players, though, waiver wire. Couple of names on the waiver wire to pay attention to. Rashid Shaheed. Rashid Shaheed continues to be a deep ball threat in the Saints offense. He gets open, and more importantly, he catches deep passes. There are a lot of deep ball receivers who have a lot of speed, who they're like the dude in the replacements. They get open with that speed, and then they drop the ball. That dude makes catches. Rashid Shaheed, keep your eye on him. He's got value. He's someone I do like moving forward. Another player on the waiver wire to keep your eye on, Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce, he had a monster game yesterday. Keep your eye on him. Good chemistry with Anthony Richardson. He was the deep ball threat. Keep your eye on him. And another player, Adonai Mitchell of the Colts. He didn't have a big game yesterday. He had 2 passes where he was open and Richardson missed him. That actually is a good sign for fantasy owners. He was on the field. He was open. He was targeted. Richardson just made bad throws. I actually think that kid's got a lot of potential. He and Richardson will figure that out. I actually think there were positive signs for him. So I think he could be a good pickup off the waiver wire. One more waiver wire wide receiver to keep your eye on, Shakir. I mentioned him prior to yesterday. I was high on him yesterday. He had a good game. Khalil Shakir of the Buffalo Bills. He's another one. So those are 4 wide receivers who could be, I'll give you a 5th, Ladd McConkey. So 5 wide receivers that may be available on the waiver wire that you should target. Ladd McConkey, Khalil Shakir, Rashid Shaheed, Alec Pierce, and Adonai Mitchell. Those are 5 that I would look at the wide receiver position and look to put onto my bench if I'm having issues there. Do you like Keon Coleman? Yes. I actually think Keon Coleman showed me what I wanted yesterday. I told you guys, if you watch the show, he's not a burner with speed. He's someone who battles defenders for the ball in a jump ball situation. He did it yesterday. He impressed. I do like Keon Coleman moving forward. Hoeing Fitness, trade Moore and Watson for Harrison Jr. No, you're giving up too much. Kevin, thoughts on Burrow and Jamar? Couple of things. I think the lack of practice time hurt them. I think Christian Gonzalez is a lockdown corner. Sooner or later, people are going to... He was injured for most of last year, but so far in his short career, Christian Gonzalez has been shut down corner material. and I think Jamar Chase got a glimpse of that. So I'm not gonna overreact. Here's the problem: Bengals are playing the Chiefs this week. That's not a good matchup. Then they're 0-2. And that doesn't include their division games against 3 good defenses. So I do think the Bengals are in a bit of trouble. What about Likely? How much should I spend on Likely? I don't know. I'm not going to overreact to him too much. I don't think he's worth too much. Jack, love Jamison Williams. Drizzy, great to see you, Driz. Evan Ingram disappointed me yesterday. He was okay. He needs to be a whole lot better. That was actually an area that surprised me. Hall or McCaffrey tonight? I'd lean towards Hall, just barely, I think. I'd rather be with Hall this year. I have Love and Cousins as my backup in a 12-man. There isn't really much on the waiver wire. Well, do some scouting. Do the best you can. It's going to be tough for you, I guess. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. Should I drop D-Hop for Shaheed or Likely, even if I have Andrews? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Tennessee, like I mentioned, 3 good defenses that they're playing the next 3 weeks. The Jets, the Packers, and the Dolphins. I'm not high on them for the next 3 weeks. Puka is out for 4 weeks. Yeah, we heard. Bad look. Not good. Let's go to a caller. Let's take our first caller of the day. Let's go to Tone. Let's see what Tone wants to talk about. Tone, what's good?
Oh, what's up? I'm just wondering if you think I should trade A.J. Brown and Jerome Ford for James Cook, George Pickens, and Devin Singletary.
Who would you get again? A.J. Brown and who?
It's A.J. Brown and Jerome Ford.
That's who you're giving up?
Yeah, but I also have Tyreek Hill as my number 1, and my flex was Keon Coleman.
And who are you getting back?
I'm getting back George Pickens, James Cook, and Devin Singletary.
Pickens, Cook, and Singletary?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do the trade. It's close. It's close. It's a fair deal, but I do it. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Tone. Let's go to Dylan Be Chillin'. Let's see what Dylan wants to talk about. See if we can get Dylan on the line. Spinning wheel of death for Dylan. Dylan, call in. Try again, bud. Let's go to WWE in public. Let's see what they want to talk about. What's good, WWE?
What's good?
How you living?
Not much.
How can we help you?
So I had Puka Nacua. So he's now out. What wide receivers do you think I should pick up on the waiver wire?
So we just talked about a couple of the wide receivers that I like. One, Alec Pierce, Jamison Williams if he's available. Jamison Williams of the Lions if he's out there.
What about O'Donnell Mitchell?
I was just about to mention him. He's someone I really like as well. Yep, Brian Thomas Jr., Ladd McConkey. These are Shakir of the Bills. These are some names I like.
Can you repeat that one more time? My phone was ringing.
Yep. So a couple of names I like. Ladd McConkey of the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Thomas Jr. of the Jaguars.
Okay.
Khalil Shakir of the Bills. Adonai Mitchell and Alec Pierce of the Colts. And obviously Jamison Williams of the Lions if he's out there.
Okay, what's it called? DK didn't do nothing for me.
Yeah, but I'm not surprised. He had a tough matchup against Patrick Surtain II, who's a really good corner, so I wouldn't be too concerned.
Do you think he'll improve this week?
He's got a tough matchup against the Patriots with Christian Gonzalez. I think he'll have a better game, but if you told me that he had another subpar game, I wouldn't be shocked. I think his real value takes off really in weeks 5. In week 5, he plays the Giants. Then he plays the 49ers, Falcons, Bills, Rams. His value is going to be later in the year.
Yeah. And on my defense, I have the so I have the Bucs defense right now. What are your thoughts on some defenses?
Yeah, because you don't want to play them the next week. Yeah. Some defenses
What
that
are your thoughts?
some defenses that I like. Well, funny enough, the Washington Commanders play the Giants, and we just saw how bad the Giants are. So maybe you're willing to take a chance on that. If you're not, I could actually see the Indianapolis Colts play the Packers. I'm not saying I like that, but if the Packers are playing Malik Willis and maybe they're not quite a
Oh yeah, because Jordan Love is out. I forgot.
yeah, right. So maybe there's some value there. It's not the Chargers. The Chargers play the Carolina Panthers, so the Chargers could be a good one.
That's a good pick up there.
Yep. Those would probably be the three. The Steelers are already taken, but the Steelers are going to have a good week against the Denver Broncos. Those are probably the defenses that I have my eye on.
The three defenses are what? The Chargers?
So the Washington Commanders. Commanders, they play the Giants. So the Washington Commanders, the Chargers, and
what was the third one?
The Indianapolis Colts.
The Colts.
Because they're playing the Packers. I don't love that one, but, consider it.
So, what do you have on Curtis Samuel this year with the Bills?
Honestly, I forgot he was even with the Bills. I thought he was still with the Commanders.
Me too.
And that's a sign of I don't think about him at all. I don't think he's got a lot of value. I'm not going to overreact to him. I think Keon Coleman and Shakir are more valuable. Here, WWE, I'm going to let you go so we can get a couple more folks in. I'm going to let you go so we're going to get a couple more folks in. Appreciate the call, but I want to let other folks get in on the line. Let's go to Ricky. Ricky's been waiting patiently. Let's see what Ricky wants to talk about. Ricky, what's good?
What's up? Can you hear me?
I can. How can we help you?
Cool. Dang, I need to get a profile picture.
You can't leave TikTok. You got to stay on it or otherwise you mute yourself.
I'm looking at DeMarcus Robinson right now. I got Eckler, Jerome Ford, Rico Dowdle on my bench, and there was one other receiver that I had on there. Give me 2 seconds. Oh, yeah.
We'll let Ricky go once these guys shit organized. Let's go to Austin. Austin's going to be next on the line. Austin, what's good?
What's up, big dog? How are you?
Oh, loving life. What can we do for you?
So, hear me out when I ask this. Christian Kirk and JSN, I have a double flex league, and Christian Kirk more so than JSN, but Kirk do I panic on him yet or no?
I'm not going to... I thought that going into the year, I know you're a loyal viewer, so I felt this way before. I was worried that he was going to come back. He was going to regress. I thought he had a really good year last year, and I expected him to regress with Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas coming in on the scene. I thought the dynamic would change. I still think he's the wide receiver one on that team, and Trevor Lawrence does target him a decent amount, so I'm not gonna panic on him too much.
Would I be smart to get rid of JSN or try and get a somewhat better trade, or should I hold on to him?
I'm not going to overreact to either one. I thought JSN would have a slightly better game yesterday, but I'm not going to overreact on either one. It's week 1. I'm not going to go crazy. I still think JSN has some value. No, it wasn't the week 1 I wanted, given that DK was dealing with Patrick Surtain II, but he was a slow starter last year, so maybe he'll be a slow starter. Maybe that's his MO.
True. And then basically, for tonight's game, I'm down, 10, I think, right now. And then I have yours truly, Breece Hall, as my running back. And I also got the Jets defense tonight. So theoretically, I should be able to get the job done.
Yeah. You didn't hear my rant earlier about these kinds of questions. I've learned now, and this is now my 3rd year of doing Butt Fumble Sports and answering questions, and there are certain questions I hate. One question is, I have this player. Who should I get for this player? It's like, I don't, it's like
right,
open-ended. And then there's this, which is, I'm down 10 points. I have player X and Y. Am I okay? that's asking for validation or affirmation that I can't give you in life. Like I'm not the person you should turn to. I understand what you're asking for. You're saying a question that all human beings ask, which is, am I okay? Am I going to be okay? And my answer is, how the fuck should I know? I'm just on this spinning planet with you. How the hell should I know? So what I'm really saying is not to be a dick, but to really call it straight, which is, I think you're going to be okay. I think you should win. But that means absolutely nothing because it's locked. It's set. It's not even like I can give you an alternative or another option. You're just living with it. So, Austin, I'm praying for you. I'm rooting for you. I'm wishing you well. And other than that, what the fuck do I know?
Exactly.
All right, dude. I'll let somebody else get on here. Have a good night, homie.
You have a great one, Austin.
Dude.
Let's get another caller up here. Let's go to J.R. Charles. Let's see what J.R. Charles wants to talk about. J.R., what's good?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm loving life. How can we help you?
Somehow came up with a win week 1. I actually didn't think I drafted that well this year. But, yeah, kind of just want to give you a rundown and see how to approach week 2. So I got Anthony Richardson, quarterback. I have this is where it gets icy. My running backs, actually I got Stevenson on the Patriots, who did really well.
Yeah, you did.
And then I have Najee Harris. And then wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, and then Kincaid, who didn't do anything at tight end. And then flex, I right now have Brian Robinson. And then I have Bears D, who did me wonders.
Yeah, they were great.
And then I have Bears D, and then my kicker is the Bengals kicker. So going into week 2, what I was thinking is keep the core guys like Anthony Richardson's, Nico, CeeDee Lamb. But do I do for running backs? I'm gonna keep Stevenson in. Do I put Robinson at RB2, take out Najee Harris, and then at flex I have Keon Coleman or Ladd McConkey from Chargers. What are you thinking for flex and the RB2 situation?
So, Commanders are playing the Giants next week. We just saw what that Giants defense just did. Now, let's keep in mind the Commanders aren't nearly as dynamic from an offensive standpoint as the Vikings are because of Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and Aaron Jones. So I'm not going to make too many comparisons, but I do like Brian Robinson feels like he's good for a touchdown. He feels like he's that red zone power back, and I think that means he's a pretty good play, given that you don't have a lot of running back talent, so he's probably a pretty good own, given your options. Your other running back, remind me who it was again, not the starter, but who it would be for the flex?
Was to Najee Harris.
Yeah, I'm just not big on Najee. I just never have been. He splits carries. He's not like, as I always say, he doesn't do anything great. He's not that fast. He's not that big. He's not that strong. Like, what does he do at an elite level? Like, I don't know. They're playing a Denver Broncos team that struggled against Kenneth Walker III a bit, so I don't know. Maybe it's worth it, but I think I'd rather go with the receiver. Problem is, it's a short week for the Bills. They play on Thursday night against the Dolphins. So you are a little bit, you're compromised a little bit if you don't like a young player. You know, every practice matters for a young player. But I think I like Ladd McConkey the most out of that group of options. So that's what I'd probably say.
McConkey at flex and then put Robinson at RB2.
That's exactly it.
Okay, and then really quick, I know you got to go here. Do you, I bought some points. Do you like George Kittle at over 24 and a half yards?
Yeah, I do. That is a player prop that I'm going with is George Kittle, 25 plus receiving yards. Yep.
Sweet. I appreciate you having me.
Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
Let's go to Chase Mo. Chase Mo 10 is going to be next on the line. Let's see what Chase Mo wants to talk about. Chase, what's good?
Yo, what's up, bro?
What's happening?
So my running backs are pretty horrible. I have it's a 14-man, and I had to start Jerome Ford and Joe Horn.
Man, and that garbage time touchdown was important to you. I got it.
Oh, that saved me. But I was wondering, what running backs would you pick up off the waiver? That's
Okay, Bucky Irving of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He got a majority of the snaps. He looks like he could actually be the guy there. So keep your eye on him. I always get it wrong. Laughlin.
Jaleel McLaughlin.
Thank you. That dude. He got more carries than I expected. Keep your eye on him. You can tell I don't really like him because I don't know his name. But Tony Pollard. That's a name that everyone should be keeping their eye on. I actually, prior to the start of the year, I thought he was going to be RB1 for the Titans. My guess was they didn't pay that guy all that money to be second to Tajay Spears. That proved to be true. I'm very high on him. I think Tony Pollard's a good pickup right now. J.K. Dobbins. Showed what he can do when he's healthy. And if there's any head coach in the league who will reward a player validating, starting them or playing, it's Harbaugh. Harbaugh sees that. He's going to give him more opportunities. J.K. Dobbins has some value I didn't expect before. Those are really the names that really stand out to me right now in terms of running backs you could pick up. Outside of that, guys who may be like the next on the list, DeMercado or the Cardinals, I feel like they're going to use him more. I just feel like he's going to get some more opportunities. So he may not be a pickup now, but if I had to take a guess for the future, one more, though I don't really like him because he's a bit too much vulture and not enough sure thing, Jamal Williams of the Saints.
All right. Thank you. That's all.
There you go, Chase. Have a nice night. Let's go to Jay. Jay is going to be our next caller on the line. Let's see what Jay wants to talk about. Jay, what's good?
What's going on, man?
How can we help you?
So I'm just wondering, I know you were saying you think the score tonight is going to be lower. You're taking the under. As far as touchdown scores, who do you think it's going to go to here?
If I had to guess, I'd take Breece Hall. I'd take Christian McCaffrey. Maybe
Do you like either one of them more, Breece Hall or McCaffrey?
Do I like one of them more? Historically, I like McCaffrey. Anytime touchdown, has been one of the most consistent bets over the last 2 years. I
just see him on the injury report. Do you think that's going to be a problem?
You're asking me two different questions. You're asking me which anytime touchdown bet do I think is most likely to happen?
Right.
I'm not giving you context. I'm giving you statistics. I'm giving you probability. So you're right. You're bringing up context. Context is where we get away from a trend and we go towards an instinct. I'm not saying that's the wrong thing to do. I'm saying you're asking me to do two things at once that compromise the advice I could give. I can give you the play based on context. I can give you based on trend. I started by giving you trend. If you ask me based on context, what do I think is probably the best play? I actually think Garrett Wilson's probably the best play. Garrett Wilson, I think, is probably a better play in some ways than anybody else, because in the red zone, if the 49ers say we are going to take away Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson's chance of a touchdown is pretty good. Aaron Rodgers has a history of throwing touchdowns, at least one a game. So that would be my context pick. My non-context, all data, all trend pick would be McCaffrey.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Sorry to be difficult, just trying to do my best.
No, I know you're good.
All right, let's go to Jeffrey. Let's see what Jeffrey wants to talk about. Jeffrey's gonna be next on the line. Jeffrey, what's good?
Yo, I had the best play with getting Xavier Worthy on my fantasy. I think I told you last week. I don't know because Hollywood Brown comes back next week, but I think it was definitely the chance that I was willing to take, and it paid off big time. And with ESPN giving those NFL taunting touchdowns, that is my favorite thing to send to people. I love that so much. But,
nice job, Jeff.
I just kind of wanted to get your recap over Sunday. I know we still got Monday Night Football, but what did you think overall Sunday's big NFL kind of kickoff?
give me one. I went on a long rant to start the show, so I'm not going to completely recap it. But give me a quick give me a jumping off point, like somewhere to start with.
All right, well, let's start with this. How bad did the Browns look against Dallas, and how bad did Deshaun Watson look? Because he looked like absolute dog water.
I think Deshaun Watson looked so bad that it negatively impacted Tom Brady's broadcasting debut. And what I mean by that is, I thought Tom Brady was okay. I didn't think he was as good as I wanted him to be as a broadcaster. But Tom Brady, we all know this because as he wants to be an owner with the Raiders, he's also got a lot of... He doesn't want to criticize. He doesn't want to criticize. He wants to explain. He wants to tell stories. He wants to applaud. He doesn't want to criticize. You could tell that already. Deshaun Watson was so bad that it made Tom Brady at times awkward because Tom was you could tell he wanted to criticize, but he was I don't want to. I should because that play was awful, but all he kept saying was, you can't go backwards. You can't go backwards. You got to go forwards. You can't go back. That was Tom Brady not knowing what to say instead of, man, Deshaun Watson sucks. And I used this in my rant earlier in the show, and it's a good line, so I'll use it again. Deshaun Watson may be a genie. He may be a genie. Because the only times I've seen his superpowers come to life is after somebody rubbed him. So, since he had his little trainer massage therapy issue, the dude hasn't been the same. Now, obviously, that's a tongue-in-cheek joke, but for real, this guy hasn't been the same quality of quarterback since the legal issues, since he was suspended, since he got back on the field, and he is now, historically, the worst contract in NFL history, and he will, just to complete the entire rant, to go from micro to macro, he will negatively impact the quarterback market. He is the worst thing to happen to NFL players since CTE because his contract being guaranteed will prevent owners from giving guaranteed money, fully guaranteed contracts in the future. Deshaun Watson is the worst thing to happen to football players in a long time.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree. And it made Tom Brady's broadcasting debut one of the most awkward broadcasting debuts.
And it was already going to be awkward because Tom Brady's awkward. For those that don't know, Tom Brady is kind of an awkward guy. He just is.
Yeah. Watch the roast of Tom Brady and you would see that.
That's exactly right. I think there are things people confuse. Tom Brady is so much better when it comes to quarterbacking than Tony Romo. But who do I think actually is more fun to have a beer and shoot the shit with? Probably Tony Romo. He just has that kind of personality. Probably one of the reasons he succeeded is because Tony Romo isn't as good looking as Tom Brady. He's not as talented as Tom Brady. He didn't go to Michigan. He didn't have the opportunities or the school. But people like him. That's why he's successful. And that's Tom Brady. He's kind of awkward. He just is, and he's gotten more awkward as he's gotten older and more wax figure-y. So yeah.
Well, I have two more takes for you if you have time. But,
sure.
What did you take away from the Saints and Panthers? Did you think it was more so the Panthers are just not a great team?
No, it's the Panthers. It's not the Saints. The Saints just played at home against a team that couldn't button its pants. The Carolina Panthers are an embarrassment, and they're an embarrassment for a number of reasons, and it all starts with their quarterback. Bryce Young is Johnny Manziel. He is too small. He is too physically inadequate. He's not tall enough. He's not strong enough. He's not fast enough. He's not smart enough. He's not good enough. He's not good enough. He will be an alumni celebrity at Alabama in 3 years, and that'll be his claim. He's not going to make it.
I think he'll be done probably after this year, and they'll start looking for a quarterback. But.
I mean, I think he's on contract, so to me, it's not like he's done. He's out of the league. That's why I said 3 years, because that's when his rookie contract's done, and that's when Carolina. He'll go to another team. There's somebody who will be like, oh, we'll have him as a backup for Kyler. We'll have him as a backup to a player who's similar in size or plays a similar style, or he'll be a good scout player, or he'll be a good backup in practice or whatever. But to say that Bryce Young. He's garbage, and it's no knock on him as a person, but I'm gonna call it what it is. He sucks at his job, and if he sucked at his job, If I sucked at my job as much as he sucks at his job, I'd be fired.
Last take, because you reported it live on Sunday. What do you take away from the Tyreek situation? I still know that there's a lot of information that needs to come out, but I had no idea Calais Campbell was also arrested.
Well, so Calais Campbell saw what was happening and got involved to try to be helpful. And, okay, so I have two thoughts. One, the first thought is this is very Scotty Scheffler. There's a sporting event, an athlete is trying to make it to the event, a cop sees someone not behaving appropriately in terms of traffic and rules and not realizing it's an athlete, and so they get involved, there's an arrest, and like it's a small thing blown out of proportion. That's part one. Part two, I'm not trying to be political, but I am. I think that there are superheroes in this world. I think nurses are superheroes, real superheroes. I think firefighters are superheroes. I think, frankly, teachers are superheroes. I think cops are very human. I think some cops are superheroes, but on the whole, I don't think of all cops as superheroes like I do firefighters or nurses, because cops are very human. And when you have a gun on your hip, the human in you comes out, the primal human, because you don't give a fuck. You can end someone's life, you can dictate terms, you are a sheriff in the Wild West, and everybody is a target. And what I would say is, if you have a black friend, or if you've ever had any experiences that give you a glimpse into the black experience, you'll realize that what happened to Tyreek Hill happens everywhere, every day, and it is awful. And if his name wasn't Tyreek Hill, and if he wasn't going to play a football game, he just would have been another black guy who would have gotten arrested for doing nothing wrong. Maybe he was speeding. Maybe he was doing something wrong, but not worthy of that. There's nothing I can say.
And that didn't register. The same for me. I just got pulled over and it was on my way.
There's nothing I can say that's going to solve this or put a better light on it other than police are scary. And I think sometimes, especially, and I say this as a white man, there are times we paint cops as a certain light because of TV, or we have friends, or we have family, Cops are people who walk around our society with a gun on their hip. That's scary shit, and I'm glad nothing happened, but let's not confuse things. That is a Florida man who happens to be a Florida cop. That's scary.
Yeah, well, I mean, Miami-Dade police does not have a good reputation to begin with, so that's...
by the way,
we'll leave it at that.
right, and my only point is, again, I don't want to go political. It's more to say, I'm not glad this happened. I'm happy that Tyreek Hill, who is at times incredibly immature, who has done awful things with his kids and his wife or his girl, like he's not a good person, but that actually is a part of this. If Tyreek Hill had done something bad and a cop had overreacted, we wouldn't be talking like this. So I'm almost a little happy in the context of like, I'm glad this is another opportunity for us to have a conversation of like, are all citizens walking through life the same? Do all people feel safe when they drive the streets? Because I know I do, but I also know I've never had reason to fear like others do. So.
Yep, exactly. Well, some good takes. Just wanted to grab your thoughts. I completely agree. And we'll be on to Monday Night Football and then next Sunday.
Yeah, and then on to another legal issue, because I'm sure something else will pop up. I'll see you, Jeffrey.
Alrighty.
Hope you guys are loving the content, loving the show. If you don't love my takes or if you don't agree with me politically, I am totally cool with that. And by the way, I respect everyone's opinion. I don't think I'm always right. I don't think I'm always wrong. Like most of you, I think I probably fall somewhere in between. But we're all just trying to figure it out as we spin on this mound of dirt in an infinite space before our time is up. Let's go to Big J as we get a little less philosophical on this Monday afternoon. Oh, Big J dropped on me. Maybe you didn't like my political take. Let's go to Harris. Let's see what Harris wants to talk about. Harris is next on the line. See? Harris, what's good?
Hey, man, what's up?
How can we help you?
So I got two questions. Number one is I'm down by 9 points in half PPR, and I got Breece Hall tonight. How do you think of my chances?
I think you're probably okay.
All right, and second is I also have Chris Olave. How do you feel about him only getting 2 targets in that really high-scoring game?
Yeah, okay, so This goes in two different directions. On one level, I'm like, man, they put up that many points and he didn't get involved. I'm disappointed. On the other hand, that's if you didn't really watch the game. If you watch the game, this is a classic case of kind of like the Minnesota Vikings. Similar thing happened with Justin Jefferson, except he got a touchdown. It's almost like his team did too well, and then they slowly took him out of the game. They slowly used him less. They were running the ball more because they wanted to bleed clock. Like, it became a non-normal game. So I'm not going to overreact to kind of a bizarre outlier game. I still think he's going to be a good player. I am a little bit concerned about his matchup this week against the Cowboys. Tough matchup. We just saw the Cowboys secondary play really well. Diggs is a good corner. But over the course of the season, I still believe in Chris Olave.
Right, and one more question. I also have Joe Burrow. I know Chase.
Joe Burrow, I'm a little worried about. Because Joe Burrow has a very, very thin margin of safety and security before he's just a bad own. So he plays the Chiefs this week. I don't like that matchup. He then plays the Commanders and the Panthers. I like that. He plays the Ravens. Don't like that. It's kind of hot and cold. Make sure you have a second quarterback that you feel good about so you can swap him in and out. Jared Goff, if he's available, would be a really good option as that second QB.
Okay, thank you. And just one more question. There's Baker Mayfield's on the waivers. Do you think that would be a good pickup?
Not as much as Jared Goff. And funny enough, those two are playing each other. I like Baker, but Baker's future matchups are against the Lions, the Broncos, the Eagles. Some defense. I'm not as high on Baker. I like it, not love it.
Right. Okay. Well, that's it for me, man. Thank you very much.
Have a good one, Harris. Let's go to Provi. Provi is going to be next on the line. Let's see what Provi wants to talk about. Provi, what's good?
What's up, man? How's your Monday going?
Oh, couldn't be better. How can we help you?
Nice. So I was listening before. I know some guy asked about Breece Hall and Chris McCaffrey scoring tonight. I just wanted to get your opinion on the quarterback passing yards, the over and unders on.
I'm not touching it. And the reason I'm not touching it is these are two good defenses. I don't quite know how they're going to perform. I don't want their passing yards. There are so many things you can bet on. When there's something you don't feel confident in, don't chase it. And I don't feel confident about those two.
All right, cool. And one more thing. What do you think about Chris McCaffrey receptions?
I'm not very high on it, and here's why. If he's dealing with an injury to his ankle, to his Achilles, and to his calf, he's already going to be limited. And so, do I think they're going to use him in ways they wouldn't normally use him? No. You get what I'm saying? Like, if he was fully healthy, then yeah, but he's not. So it's like, are they gonna use him for even more snaps, or are they gonna use his backup and give him a rest on certain plays? I think the latter is probably more likely.
And on that note of him being injured, do you think the over on Breece Hall's rushing yards is a good take?
What does one have to do with the other?
Well, because if just talking about running back rushing.
Oh, if you just so here's one for you. I like Breece Hall's receiving yards, 25 plus receiving yards the most.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if you remember, but the other day I came on and I was saying how, I do sports cards and that stuff.
Yep.
Breece Hall is a very high take in the market right now. His stuff is going up because everyone thinks he's going to be a stud this year.
Well, I think for a couple of reasons there. One, you're dealing with a New York player, and you know as much as anybody, you deal in markets, and the New York market usually pays and buys. They're just more fans. So I think there's a lot of value behind Breece Hall, whether it's his cards, whether it's in fantasy, or whether it's just him as a player.
Of course. All right. Appreciate that, man.
Have a good one, Provi.
You too.
Let's get to Luca. Let's see what Luca wants to talk about. Luca's going to be next on the line. Luca, what's good?
Yo.
Is it Lukaku or is it Luca?
Lukaku.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, Lukaku, what's good?
I just got one question. Should I trade Josh Jacobs and Mark Andrews for Kenneth Walker and Garrett Wilson?
Yes. Yes, I would.
All right. Thank you, bro.
Of course. Have a good one. Let's go to our next caller. Let's go to Ninja. Is it Black Belt Ninja? He doesn't have a name. He's just got an emoji. But let's see. What's good, Ninja? Ninja, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. My bad.
What's good?
So I got Debo Samuel. Well, I don't have him, but I'm down by 10, and my opponent has Debo Samuel. I think I won.
I think you're sweating it. I'll probably say no.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. Didn't mean to ruin your world. Let's go to Kyle. Let's see what Kyle wants to talk about. Kyle, what's good?
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Loving life. How can we help you?
Quick question. So I'm in a high stakes league. I've been in it for 5 or 6 years. I've always drafted Mark Andrews. This year I drafted Isaiah Likely in the 11th round just for when Mark Andrews got hurt. Now I'm in this tough situation where you saw the usage last week, and I've got a tough matchup coming up this next week. Who are you going with? I mean, obviously we're playing the Raiders, so it's going to be probably a run-heavy game after J.K. Dobbins did what he did. But which tight end are you going with in this situation?
So here's I'm only going to say this because it's week 1. Everything in week 1 I keep in a silo. I put in a vacuum and I go, okay, these are outlier circumstances. I have so little data. I'm not going to overreact. I still believe in Mark Andrews enough where I'm not going to overreact. The Chiefs are a smart defense. They know that they need to take away Mark Andrews to beat the Ravens. That's what they did. I think the Ravens know that if they are going to be successful, they need to get Mark Andrews involved. If the Ravens had beaten the Chiefs and Isaiah Likely had had that big game, I'd be more concerned. But they lost. And I think the Ravens go back into the lab and go, we need to get Mark Andrews involved. I think they will this week. I think he'll have better production as the season goes along. So I'm not going to throw Mark Andrews out and immediately anoint Isaiah Likely as tight end 1. I think that was more about week 1 against the Chiefs than it is about the trends we'll see for the rest of the year.
And are you still feeling confident on Cooper with his 10 targets, but you still have Watson throwing on the ball?
I mean, Amari Cooper to me was always a high floor player. If you're in a risky position at wide receiver 2 or the flex, a high floor player is very valuable. But to your point, Deshaun Watson's going to bring that ceiling down. So I think I wouldn't trade him because I don't think he's got enough value to get you back what you want. I'd probably keep him on the team, and for the weeks where there's a good matchup, I would consider it. But again, I'm not going to overreact to wide receiver 1, or sorry, to week 1 rather. I'm just gonna take it, make note of it, and then we'll move on to week 2. And if week 2 confirms what I saw in week 1, then I'll start to take action.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, man.
Have a great day. Appreciate you guys watching the show. Hope you guys have been enjoying the content. Let's go to Aaron G. Aaron G is going to be next on the line. Aaron, what's good?
Hey, I have a question, a tight end question. So I drafted Ferguson, so obviously I need something else. Right now Goddard is available, but what do you think about Brock Bowers? I've been hearing stuff about him.
So, I like Brock Bowers in this regard. I think he's going to get a ton of targets this year. I don't know what his overall points are going to be. I think he's someone who gets a lot of targets. I don't know if he gets a touchdown or a lot of yards. It sounds like Ferguson is going to be out for a week at most. There are even some reports that he could play this week, which is ridiculous. Football players are built different, let's just say that. I think Brock Bowers is a good pickup. I think I like Bowers more than Goddard. A lot of mouths to feed in that Eagles offense, and Dallas Goedert kind of gets lost. So I'd probably say Bowers is probably the best option from the names you mentioned.
Okay, yeah, and I have A.J. Brown already, so it's like I don't really want to do all Eagles players. Okay, thank you so much.
Have a great day, Aaron.
Bye.
Let's go to another caller. Let's go to John. John's one of our favorites. Let's see what John wants to talk about. Oh, John, spinning wheel of death. John, you're not connecting for some reason. We'll try again in a moment. Let's go back to Ricky. It looks like Ricky's got another question. Ricky, what's good?
What's up, man? I'm prepared.
Okay, let's go.
So I've been looking at Demarcus Robinson. I don't know if he's someone that I should be looking at now that Puka's hurt. He's probably going to pull a lot more targets, in my opinion.
I think it's a really interesting idea. They're playing the Arizona Cardinals this week, so I kind of like it. It's not a bad play.
Okay, cool. And I sent in my team like probably a week ago, and you rated it. You said it was like a B+, but you said the only thing that I needed to change was to either get rid of Zay Flowers or Mark Andrews, because I have both of them. So, which one should I get rid of?
Mark Andrews. The problem is Mark Andrews' value has plummeted since that conversation. So you're not going to get the kind of return you want. So you probably are best to wait a week or two when his value, rebounds. But I would move on from Mark Andrews. I mean, what we just saw in week 1 is an example of why. Because I did think one of the reasons I felt that way before is that I thought likely would take away some of his value. So I kind of stand by what I thought before.
All right, cool. That's it.
All right, Ricky, you have a good one, bud. Let's go to Quishine. Is it Quishine? Is it Quishine?
Keith Shine.
Oh, okay, I got you. What's good, man?
You're good, man. I just got a question, just your opinion. Do you think that Brian Thomas is an auto start going forward?
I think that's probably right. More like a flex play than a wide receiver 2, but yeah.
Would you say Amari is no longer an auto start?
Yes. I don't think he's an auto start. I think it very much is about the matchup. And again, that's no knock on Amari Cooper. That is a 100% knock on Deshaun Watson. Yeah.
And one more question. And so if I have Amari and then my next best player might be Zach Moss, I'm safer starting Zach Moss than Amari on a week-to-week basis? In my flex?
Wow. I don't actually feel that way, but for the moment I do. But do I really? No, because I don't believe in Zach Moss that much.
Okay. All right, man. Well, appreciate that. Amari might have to earn his spot back.
He's going to have to fight for it. He's going to have to earn it.
Amari's one of those players, as soon as you bench him, he goes crazy. So
I totally understand that. Again, it's more like Deshaun. Like, the moment you finally believe Deshaun Watson is literally, like, garbage on top of the heat pile, he has a good game. So it's a tricky one.
Yeah.
All right, man. Be good. Let's go to John. Let's see if we can connect with John this time. Giving it another try, John. You might be in a tough zone. John, what's good?
No, I fixed it. I had earbuds in, so I took them out and disconnected from my Bluetooth. So I had a feeling that would fuck me up or mess me up. I'm sorry.
You're good, John. How can we help you today?
Okay, so I'm in a pickle of conundrum right now because I got Kincaid and Njoku as tight ends.
Brutal.
And
I believe it. I believe in Kincaid. I'm going to believe in him. I think week 1 was bad. I'm not going to overreact. I have him in a bunch of leagues too. It burned me in one of them really bad, but I'm going to believe in him. It's a short week this week, so I'm going to believe in him. I'm going to kind of just like cover my eyes and play him for week 2.
Okay, who are you more comfortable with, Neighbors or McClunky as a wide receiver 2?
For this week, McConkey.
Okay. And if you could pick up someone off of flex, which one would you grab, Shakir or Alec Pierce?
I'm going to say Shakir. I think Alec Pierce had a monster week 1, but there are a number of receivers in that offense that I like. I think Shakir is going to be a wide receiver.
Know this. I also have James Cook and then Kincaid also.
Right.
So I was kind of leaning towards Alec Pierce because he is on the waiver wire.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of talk about this Jets receiver.
Mike Williams?
Yes.
Well,
what do you know about him?
Well, that's the former Chargers receiver.
Yeah.
Mike Williams was on the Chargers the last few years. Really good player,
Okay.
got hurt. I think he's a good pickup. I actually think Mike Williams is a good pickup.
Okay.
And they play the Titans next week. I actually think Mike Williams is a pretty good pickup for next week, actually.
Okay, all right. And yeah, because I'm hurting in my flex now because Chase Brown, he's just gonna have to prove something.
Yeah,
on that Bengals.
I agree with you. I was hoping Chase Brown would show me something yesterday, and unfortunately, he did not.
Right. And you think Baker Mayfield's worth a grab off of the waiver for a Jalen Hurts bye week?
How about this? The Philadelphia Eagles don't have their bye week for a couple weeks.
Right.
Let's wait on it.
How he plays.
Tampa Bay plays Atlanta, and the only reason I would say wait, let's see how Atlanta's defense looks. Atlanta's defense looked okay yesterday, but I'm not quite sure because the Steelers are kind of a mess. So let's talk about that in like week 3, because you'll need to pick someone up maybe a week ahead of the bye, but let's wait on that.
Okay, and then so this Mike Williams for the Jets, if he does something right tonight, he could also be a potential instead of Alec Pierce grab.
I think he might be a good play no matter what he does tonight.
No matter what?
Yep.
Okay.
I think the Jets are going to have a good game next week against the Titans. As long as Aaron Rodgers is healthy, knock on wood, through this game. So,
do you think Madison gets a lot more playing time this year for the Raiders?
that's another one. That's another running back that I wanted to mention earlier when we talked about guys to pick up off the waiver wire. Madison got a ton of carries yesterday. I would look at him. He's going to get some opportunity.
Hey, can you tell I got my paper with a bunch of notes right now?
You've done a good job, John. You did your homework, buddy.
You should see my desk in front of me.
I imagine it's nothing but fantasy football.
I'm kind of ashamed of myself, but proud at the same time.
Oh, I'm proud of you, John. You did a good job.
I won by 5 points, though, and it was up to, who was it, Gibbs last night, that he didn't produce like he should have, because I was projected to lose. But I won by 5 points last night with some monsters on the bench that went off.
Nice.
But
Good job, John.
And look at that Pittsburgh and Boswell defense and kicker points.
Oh, my God. That Steelers defense came through for everybody.
Yeah, and Boswell, if you had him as a kicker, because that dude had like 20.
He single-handedly got some people wins this past week. A friend of mine in one of my leagues was bitching about how Boswell, my friend was like, we shouldn't have kickers in our league anymore because they're destroying everything. Just look at Boswell, and I was like, tough shit, dude. Suck it up.
He's the only person that had me in the 20s on my whole roster.
No, he came through.
The only player.
He came through for sure. John, I'm going to let you go, okay, bud?
To the other ones, brother. Thank you, sir.
Later, player.
Later, Bob. Bye.
Appreciate all of you guys joining us. I'm going to sign off now. We've been on for about an hour and a half. No, we've been close to 2 hours. Hour 45 minutes. So I'm going to sign off now. I'll probably do a subscriber-only show later tonight. You'll probably get a subscriber-only show from me later tonight. Depends on how late the Monday Night Football game goes. John, appreciate it, buddy. Appreciate all the support that you guys show me every single day. I hope you guys know talking to you guys is the highlight of my day. I love talking sports with you. I hope you love listening to me talk sports and the advice I give. Make sure you follow. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're with us. If you want to be a part of the subscriber-only show tonight, subscribe on TikTok. Subscriber-only show tonight. And again, if you want all of my bets every single day, DM me on Instagram. Butt Fumble Sports. DM me on Instagram. I give away all of my picks for free. DM me on Instagram. And as a reminder, I'm going to give out my picks for tonight right now. So a reminder for everyone out there, I like the Jets plus 4.5, Jets plus 4.5, and I like the under 45.5 points. So Jets plus 4.5 and under 45.5 points. Those are the NFL picks I have. But if you want my player props, my MLB picks, or if you want my bets every single day for free, because you know I give them away for free, DM me on Instagram, ButtFumbleSports, and you can get access to every single one. We'll see you later tonight for the subscriber-only show on TikTok. Until then, enjoy your Monday night. Thanks for making this such a wonderful show. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye, everybody.